confirmation of how the table stands. A very good start for Liverpool on 6 points. And as you can see, Atletico, they're on 4, having got a late winner by the looks of things. Porto on 1 and AC Milan yet to get off the mark. So, Liam, certainly a good night's work for Jurgen Klopp's men and a fantastic start to the group for them.
Yeah, they got a break with the first goal. I don't think they were playing particularly well until they got that first goal, but once they got the first goal, they just completely took over the game. And they were very, very impressive. Some really good performances. Jones in midfield, Salah and Mane again, 2 full-backs, Milner and Robertson. Just really, really top team. They are. We said at the start of the show that they're the team we like watching most because they're so exciting, and they didn't let us down again tonight, Peter.
No, they certainly didn't. And even given the early problems that Porto had, Ray, with the late withdrawal of Pepe and then the early substitution of Octavio, you still couldn't have seen them putting up a real challenge to Liverpool. They played so well tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they've had a good season to start to the season, Porto. We said they're unbeaten in the league. Good result away at Atletico Madrid in the first round of matches. But they came up against a top side tonight. You know, when they're on form, Liverpool, and they play with a pace, they close down high up the pitch, they win the ball back in good areas, they're going to create chances. And 5 goals tonight, Peter. I said at half-time, 2-0, see the game out. But it's not the Liverpool way. They are a very attack-minded side. They're always looking to be on the front foot and create more opportunities. And they got them. And look at the goal scorers. That front 4, if you like. You can mix and match whoever the 3 that he's going to play there. Firmino, he's sit on the bench tonight, but he comes on and scores 2. Mane gets 1. Salah gets 2. I mean, they are the players that Jurgen Klopp looks to game after game to come up with big performances, and once again they've done it tonight. Yeah, and Klopp mentioned before this game, Liam, that there were a couple of concerns after the Brentford match about the defending, but and he said they'd have to be corrected. In your view, were the defensive issues corrected tonight?
Well, Porto didn't offer much, but they did score, Peter, and again it came from a cross. So they will be looking at that, and Ray and I were talking just after the goal, and the positioning of the defenders wasn't good for Taremi's goal. So it wasn't quite the perfect night for Liverpool. That goal, I think, just a little bit diminishes their performances.
Yeah, it came after James Milner was substituted, and the word we're hearing now is that Trent Alexander-Arnold may be a doubt for the Manchester City game next Sunday. The likelihood is that Milner will retain his place, and that's the reason he was withdrawn relatively early in that second half.
Yeah, he played well. He gets forward well. He's a great professional. He can play a number of positions. I don't think it weakens the Liverpool team, Milner playing at right back, although Trent Alexander is a smashing player.
Particularly going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray, I mean, Jurgen Klopp, he was able to make those substitutions a little bit later possibly than we thought, but it puts them in good stead ahead of the City game, doesn't it?
Well, I said about the bench, Peter, much, much stronger this season. It certainly was last season due to the injuries that he had. The likes of Firmino's on the bench at the moment. He comes on, and he comes up with a couple of goals. So he's put himself in the frame for the weekend. The manager's got some big decisions to make for the game against Manchester City because he knows the importance of it. Having a really good start to the league campaign. They're up against one of the favourites for the league this season, and they have to be prepared for that game. But I'm sure they will be. But, yeah, they'll be slightly disappointed they gave away the goal because, obviously, they want to have clean sheets. The goalkeeper, Alisson, didn't have a great deal to do. What he had to, he done very well indeed. Overall, I just thought it was a top performance. And some of the fringe players, and Liam will know better than I, when you're a club and you've got an academy, you need a pathway through for your youngsters. And they've got to see signs that you can get into the first team. And that's one of the great things about Jurgen Klopp. He does that. And he's got every ambition and every desire to put youngsters in and give them their chance. But once you're in there, it's up to you to make sure you hold down that position. That's what he's been saying to Curtis Jones, and I thought he gave another very good performance tonight on the back of playing well against Brentford.
Yeah, he was lauded after the game against Brentford, and Jurgen Klopp has said, well, it's more consistency we require from him, and he gave him more consistency tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's playing with a lot of confidence, Peter. He had a hand in the first goal. He made Salah's second goal with a lovely pass. Great tackle in midfield to regain possession of the ball in the first place. I thought he played very well. Very, very well.
And in the lead up to this game, Ray, I was listening to quite a few of the Liverpool-related podcasts, and some, well, I'm not sure whether I should call them experts or not, but some contributors were expressing concerns about Van Dijk, whether he was right back to his best. They were also expressing concerns about Andy Robertson, that he may not be at his best. But going on tonight's evidence, both are in good fettle.
Yeah, I think they're in good form. You know, I think everyone's looking for perfection, aren't they? You know, when you look at what Liverpool did a couple of seasons ago and how dominant they were. Last season, it was fragmented because of the injuries that they had. They had a loss of form midway through the season. People forget last season, Peter, Liverpool had a great start. First 12 games of the season, they would have been top of the league. Last 12 games of the season, they would have been top of that table. It was that middle 14 matches where I think they only picked up 11 points out of them 14 games, whereas Manchester City, in that same time period, picked up 39 points out of 42. So that's where the league was won and lost, if you like. But they finished the season well. They came out this season, and I think there's a lot more confidence about them in the matches that they've played. You can see they're playing higher up the pitch, whereas last season they were a bit deeper. They were allowing the opposition to get in possession of the ball. They're not doing that so often. But the big test will be Sunday. You know, that's the game. As it was against Chelsea, this is another big test for them against one of their main rivals for the league this season.
Just in relation to Van Dijk, Liam, we saw that any of the aerial stuff, he comfortably mopped it up, and it really was. But had he an issue with the goal that was scored against them, the Taremi goal?
Well, we'll have a look at it a little bit later, Peter. But I didn't think he was in the best position. But perhaps, you know, you're 3-0 up. You know, your concentration lapses for a second, and you find yourself conceding a goal. But, you know, they're a different team with him in the side. You know, absolutely. Trent Alexander-Arnold can go forward. Last year he couldn't because they just didn't have the pace and the strength at the back that Van Dijk brings to the team. So a completely different team with him in his position at centre-back. Yeah,
well, he certainly had a fine game this evening. Also, a fine game for Mo Salah, Ray, and 15 minutes into the second half, he really made the tie secure, didn't he?
Yes, he did, but I think it comes down to Jones in midfield and the way he anticipates winning the challenge, and then he moves forward from there, and you know, he sets up a golden opportunity for Salah to make it 3-0. Absolutely brilliant. Just watch the way he breaks up. One of the criticisms you might have had with Curtis is he didn't always see the right ball, but just look at the way it passed. Beautiful into the path of Salah. And you know what, Pete? He just takes one touch just to settle himself. Just settles himself, and then he just waits to see what he's going to do, and he puts it through the legs of the goalkeeper, Costa. And he meant it. You know, just watch there, through the legs. Thanks very much. Second goal of the evening, third for Liverpool. And it just shows you what a talent he is. And a big smile afterwards, and he went and congratulated Jones for what he'd done in the build-up to give him the opportunity. But he just loves scoring, as all strikers do. They want to find the back of the net, and he's been doing it regularly for Liverpool. I think that's 31 goals in the Champions League for Liverpool in 60 games or thereabouts. That's a phenomenal strike rate, isn't it? It just shows you the class that he's got.
Yeah, always turning up in the right place. Let's have a look at the goal, Liam, that gave Porto, I don't know whether it gave Porto some sort of hope, but it possibly did.
Well, I think it did. It raised the crowd, but they conceded a few minutes later when the goalkeeper made a dreadful error. But Vieira does very, very well here. He came on as sub, and he played very well, and Darren mentioned it in commentary. And it's a good ball in. I'm not too sure Van Dijk's position is all that good. He needs to be maybe back a half a yard, and he cuts that out, you know. So that was the only blot in the copybook, to be quite honest.
You think Joe Gomez could have done?
No, I think it was difficult for him because that Taremi is a big, strong lad, and he got there first. Good run. It was a great ball from Vieira. It was a good goal from Porto's point of view. But, you know, it only lasted a couple of minutes. The enthusiasm didn't, because the poor young goalkeeper had a nightmare tonight. After having such a good game in the first tie against Atletico Madrid, to come out and play like that, I think the coach would be scratching his head whether he's going to keep his place. Yeah, well, of course, Bobby Firmino it was who got to it and caught the keeper well out of position, Liam. But let's have a look at it, because, again, something that the keeper will not want to see again.
Yeah, it was the ball over the top, wasn't it? You let your defender deal with it. I'll tell you what a finish from Firmino. I mean, watch the pace of the ball that he delivers towards goal is absolutely perfect. I mean, the more I look at it, the more I think the goalkeeper's going to get there. But obviously he doesn't. I mean, he's trying his level best, but he's made a complete hash of this decision to come out and where he was on the field. I mean, look, he's 22, and you can be very critical. But, you know, it was a big mistake from his point of view.
And this was Firmino's second goal. there was a doubt whether he was offside, but he wasn't. He was level, so that means he's on. What a player he is for me now. He's been brilliant for Liverpool, and I feel a bit sorry for him, you know. Jota, as we highlighted before the show, before the game, has been playing brilliantly.
Yeah.
But this fella's a top player. They really have a brilliant bench at the moment. And you look at that squad, it's got to go. You've got to have every chance of winning the Champions League and the Premiership.
And of course, there have been occasions, Ray, where Klopp has played all four, the other Liverpool Fab Four, as they call them.
Nearly a year ago. Nearly a year ago.
Do you think there's a possibility of doing it again?
A year ago, Liverpool went to Atalanta and beat them 5-0.
Yeah.
And at the weekend, they played Man City. And he went with the four lads. So yeah, I think he played with Salah up front, Mane on the left, Firmino playing a little bit deeper, and Jota on the right. So you never know. One of the worst things you try to do in football is try and second guess what Jurgen Klopp's going to do when it comes to team selection. You won't get it right that often. But as Liam just said there, to have that talent and the depth of the squad in that part of the field that can turn the games for you, win your matches, is absolutely outstanding. Liverpool will go far in this competition because I think over two legs, whoever they play against, they've got so much talent in their team throughout, from goalkeeper to the strikers. As long as they all stay fit and healthy this season, they could be one of the teams to beat.
Yeah, and I've heard some Liverpool fans express some concern, as they do, that maybe at times Klopp rotates too much. But really, Liam, I suppose the evidence is there in the results that they've been getting, that it works.
6 out of 6 in the Champions League, you know, top of the group. They win their home games, they'll probably top the group, Peter. I should think they would. Unbeaten start in the league. Okay, they dropped a point, or they dropped 2 points against Brentford. They should have won that game. They had the chances to win it, and they didn't defend very well. But all in all, it's been a great start to the season, and a side brimming with confidence, and I think they'll go on to do great things this season.
Another thing, Ray, that crossed my mind really during that second half was, I mean, you're going to go nowhere in the Champions League if you don't have a good goalkeeper. And I know it was a particularly bad night for Costa, but at the other side, we saw Alisson Becker only called into action on a couple of occasions, but certainly he made one very, very good save during that second half.
I thought last season he wasn't at his best, and I think that was down to the fact that they had to rotate the back four so often. You're bringing the kids in. It wasn't something that he was used to. He was used to playing with Virgil van Dijk and Matip or Gomez in the central positions. And I think his starting position, you know, because they were pushing higher up the pitch, he could come off his line a little bit more. Whereas with the younger players, they were playing a bit deeper, and he looked a little bit reticent, a little bit reluctant in his 18-yard box. He's back to his best now. And he's got the players in front of him. He's so much more confident. You can see that when the ball's being played back to him as well now. There's no panic when he's in possession of the ball, where there was a couple of occasions last season where he got caught out because the players he's playing to aren't meeting angles to receive it. He looks a different keeper this time around, as do Liverpool as a team. And you come back to that back four, looks more so. Even though they've gave up some goals in recent games, you know, they're only going to get better. Virgil's going to get fitter the more games that he plays. Same with Matip. You forget these lads hardly had any football last season. Yeah. Then all of a sudden now they've been thrown in this season. Not only have they been playing league games for Liverpool, Champions League, League Cup, they've also been playing international football for the countries as well. So they've played a lot of football, Peter. We're not even out of September. So, you know, they're only going to get better, and the manager will look after them as best as he can. Some of the games where he can feel he can put in the youngsters, he will do so. And he does it at the right time. And you say, he might be questioned about rotating his team, but in his mind, he's doing it for the right reasons, at the right times, and the results so far this season has proved him right.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to find fault with the manager's decision, and looking at that performance and indeed listening to you both, it's very hard to find a weakness in that Liverpool team. They seem to have strength in depth in all areas, Liam, but give us an assessment of their midfield performance this evening.
Well, I thought Jones, who's come in, you know, as a young lad, he plays with he looks very mature. He looks like he's an experienced lad, and he's not. But he's very, very confident. Gets on the ball. He makes decisive passes. I thought Fabinho alongside him in the middle of the park. He's a defensive player. He broke up a lot of the Porto attacks. And Henderson is all action, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's been a brilliant professional, a bit like Milner, you know, always there, always count on him. And then we saw Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain come on, and you kind of forget about how good this Liverpool squad is, when you see him come on. Origi didn't come on. He's another one up front that they can throw on when perhaps they need a more physical approach to the game. So, very good in midfield tonight. I think Wijnaldum will be missed. He's a top-class player, obviously gone to PSG. But on tonight's performance, you couldn't pick fault with anyone. It was hard to pick a man of the match for Liverpool because they were all so good, but I think Salah just shaded it.
Yeah, and I know you both want to talk about Mo Salah because apart from contributing the 2 goals, he contributed an awful lot more to the game as well, didn't he? His work rate, it sort of typified the work rate of the Liverpool team as well.
Yeah, the spirit of this Liverpool side is epitomised by him. He's up and down. He helps his team going backwards. He's got great skill. Skip pass I do there in the first half like he wasn't there. Here he is helping his team. He's in the right back position. He's harassing Diaz, gets the ball back, gets a foul, and Liverpool break up the attack. He's a very unselfish player, and he's also a good passer of the ball, Peter. He doesn't really hog the ball. He wants to bring his teammates into it. We saw that with the goal he scored against AC Milan, that little 1-2. And of course, he's on hand there to get the first goal. And Ray described the second goal.
Well, this is still the first, where you just look at his positional playing, how much desire he has to get into the areas to affect the game. He's inside the 6-yard box. It looks simple, but you've got to be in there to read it in here. And he's just coolness personified. He never looks like he's got to miss.
I think he meant to put it through his legs.
Yeah, I totally agree. He had a little look, didn't he, Liam, when seeing where the goalkeeper came out. The keeper's trying to stand up nice and big and left himself vulnerable to play it through his legs. But when he first came to the club, I remember watching pre-season, and Jurgen Klopp was on the sidelines, and every minute he was screaming at me, get back into position. When you lose the ball, this is the position I want you to take up. And he's learnt that. Yeah. He's learnt that over the years, and it's not just about him being an attacking option. He has to do his defensive duties. Doesn't have to do that all the time, because that's where, when you were talking about the midfield, that's where they work so hard. Henderson, Fabinho, and it was Jones tonight. They work side to side, up and down, side to side, because they know the likes of Mane and Salah aren't always going to come back to help out defensively. So you need players who've got that action to go across from one side of the field to the other, win the ball, and then they get it forward quickly, because that's where they are devastating, in the advanced areas where they're going to create opportunities, and they get the width at times as well from the 2 fullbacks. Milner done it later on in the second half, but at the early stages of the game, it was Andy Robertson who was the one. Him and Mane, I thought, worked really well in tandem down the left, created the opportunities, and that's where Liverpool looked really, really good earlier on in the game. Yeah,
well, they may not have been too active in the summer transfer window, but they still have an abundance of riches, and that was demonstrated by an excellent performance in Porto this evening. Well, Liam, he'll be out of contract June 23, I think it is, and already his agent is making noises, really, that he wants a contract done sooner rather than later, putting a little bit of pressure, you'd say, on Liverpool. But given what he's doing at the moment, it's hard to see Liverpool not trying to do everything they can to get him to...
yeah, I think he's very happy at Liverpool. Yeah. He plays with a smile on his face. Yeah, I think he shows with his work rate that he loves playing for them. And I'm sure they'll reach an amicable contract or a deal. I don't see him being the type of fella to be, to be constantly in the newspapers and with doubts whether he's going to stay or go. I'm sure they'll come to some agreement at Liverpool that will keep him there.
Yeah, and of course the options will be fairly limited for him, because he will want a significant wage. He'll also obviously want to be with a club that are going to win things, and at the moment Liverpool just seem to tick all the boxes.
Yeah,
for him,
absolutely, Peter. It ticks every box. He's idolised by the Liverpool fans. He's having a phenomenal time at the moment. You can see there, talking after the game, how much he's enjoying his football at the club.
Yeah.
He's looking for the right wage for him. It's a big contract. I think he's 29, isn't he, at the moment? So his next contract's going to be the biggest one, probably, of his career. But he looks after himself. He's never in the media for the wrong reasons. He looks supremely fit. He looks like he's going to score more goals. And that's what he's all about. He just trains well, plays well. And he's a credit to have around the club. And I'm sure at some stage, like a lot of the players have at the moment, like Virgil signed a new contract, Henderson, there's a lot of them that have re-signed. and it's only a matter of time, I think, before Mo Salah puts pen to paper. It's up to the owners now to back the manager and back Salah, because he's deserving of it.
Yep, the manager will certainly want him to stay. Liam, one thing I thought was really interesting there, the fact that he said the reason he didn't change the side, apart from Trent Alexander-Arnold, who was out anyway, for tonight's game from the team that lined out against Brentford, was he basically intimated that he didn't want that game to be the last game in that side's bones, and that he wanted to correct the mistakes within that team. It's an interesting approach, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I thought Liverpool played really, really well against Brentford. You know, they should have won 6 or 7. In fact, it was Mo Salah was a little bit wasteful in front of goal.
True.
However, you know, it's a pity he didn't get the clean sheet, because he probably wanted that wiped from those defenders' minds, the fact that they conceded 3 goals. And that's, you know, he's a brilliant manager, isn't he? What he's brought to Liverpool has been absolutely fantastic. You know, he did a great job at Dortmund. But there was a question mark when he came to Liverpool whether he could turn the club around. They'd waited how many years, Ray, to win the league?
30.
30 years, you know, and he's done it, and he's won the Champions League as well. I think he's a fantastic manager.
Yeah, he's definitely proved his worth, and just as valuable to the team as the likes of Salah or anybody else. Jurgen Klopp, the manager there, obviously very delighted with the performance and the result in Porto this evening.